Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan and I am the Crafty Quinn. Thank you so much for being patient with me as I took some time off, and I'm just excited to get back into the swing of things. So I have 3 Easter DIYs for you today, and it's a collaboration with Arrows DIY. So more about that later, but for now we're gonna just jump right in, and I'm excited to show you more about some of the process of some of my crafts, such as my ribbons, later on in the video as well. But today we are going to just start by staining this wood cutout from Dollar Tree. If you are a subscriber, I normally work with a lot of Dollar Tree materials, and you know that. But if you're new here, I normally work with a lot of Dollar Tree materials. So yeah, we are just going in here, and I'm using a makeup wipe to spread out my antique wax. I love using this technique for any wood that big wood pieces like this that I'm trying to stain, and I'm trying to stain the entire thing, but I'm leaving the bunny plain here because this is going to be Ballet Slipper Pink from Waverly, and so that's going to be the color of the bunny. And then, like I said, the wax that I use to stain this with is by Waverly, and it's antique wax. So I just used a small brush to paint the bunny. And then once that was painted, then I could look at the different patterns that were on this. I love how this wood cutout was kind of like a paint by numbers in a lot of ways. So it gave me a nice outline to work with and to really detail the designs, really. So this color is called Pool, and it's also by Waverly. And I made sure to look at that last night so I could remember what color to tell you guys in the video. So I used those 2 lines in the middle as my blue background. And then I took a really tiny foam brush for this. I took white Waverly chalk paint, and the tiny little foam brush that comes in a 3-pack at Dollar Tree, that's the foam brush that I'm using, and it actually fits perfectly with these zigzag lines, and I could kind of go in between the lines with this, and then any lines that I missed, I would just go back and fill them in later. This by no means is an easy project. I mean, it's easy, but it's just very time consuming. I will be very honest with you, and I want to say this took me maybe almost 3 hours because I have been struggling with something lifelong called perfectionism, and so that is why it took me so long. But for you guys, maybe it won't take so long. But I was really trying to avoid the lines and just get inside the lines, or just cover them up completely, and that takes some time. So this is a cotton ball, just a regular cotton ball. I actually got these from maybe Dollar Tree even. And so this is going to be the bunny's tail, and really so you saw me kind of break it apart, but I just kind of roll it and just kind of mess with it until it looks more circular. And then once none of the little tiny edges are sticking out, then you can actually glue this down, and that is going to cover up that little hole there. It's kind of a weird place to make. I don't know. I think that bunny cutout is a little bit strange with the hole in the middle right there, but I mean, I guess it's just kind of a place for you to add a tail, so that's kind of how I interpreted things. But I just hot glued down the cotton ball bunny tail. So I know I've heard a couple of you ask me about my ribbon making technique. I really don't have a technique, and that's why I often didn't include it in my other videos, because I just kind of mess around with things, and by the time I figure out how I want the bunny to, well, not the bunny, the ribbon to look, I'm no longer filming at that point. So because I've tried so many times on camera and it doesn't always work out how I want. So this is kind of more of my creative process. I never really know where it's going to take me when I'm making these bows. I just kind of throw some things together and then just kind of see how it turns out. I don't really have a process other than just layering things up in the form of an X, and then just kind of cinching things from there and just kind of adding more and more layers, and then that's kind of how they turn out. But I am taking some raffia, and this I just double it until all of it is doubled. But there's usually a piece sticking out if you're doing it the right way, but you just pinch it in the middle, and then when you see that piece hanging out on the right hand side, that's what you're going to use to cinch it in the middle. You just wrap that piece of raffia itself around in the middle, and that gives the illusion of a raffia bow. And a lot of people have said that I don't cinch it, I guess, tight enough in the middle of my bows, but I mean, I'm trying to cinch it as hard as I can, you guys. I've got a lot of comments about that before, that it's not tight enough, but I am literally pulling as hard as I can to get this ribbon together. So don't come at me in the comments, but I'm doing my best. So, and I think it turns out pretty good. So then I just hot glue that down, and I just make sure the little hang tie's out of the way. And then now that I've made that bow, that is really the last step. So I just hot glue everything down, and that's really all there is to it. I just love the pattern on this wood cutout, and as soon as I saw it at Dollar Tree, I knew I had to try my hand at it. So, like I said, today is a collaboration with Favi from Arrows DIY. She has a video for you as well. I'm going to link her channel down in my description box and her video in my description box, but this is a little bit more of what her style is. She does all kinds of things. I've seen her do shabby chic, she does farmhouse. She did do a St. Patrick's Day tiered tray decor video, so definitely check out her tiered tray DIY video, since I didn't get to make one this year. So I love her. She is just such a great friend, and I'm so glad that I've met her in this crafting community. So definitely go to her channel, check out her video, and please tell her that I sent you if you do check out her video. So thank you guys for that, and we're just moving right along here into our next craft. So I saw this sign. There's actually kind of two versions of this sign. One has more of a plaid color on some of the bunnies, and then the other one is this burlap version of bunnies on a sign. So I thought the burlap bunnies were adorable, but I actually got both versions of this sign because the plaid colored bunnies were also just really cute. So I'm sure I can find a use for them somewhere, but you know, just these little bunny cutouts are just so cute. I mean, you could use them individually for things. You don't have to keep them all together. You don't have to keep them all on the string. You can really just kind of use them individually if you want. So this is more of a long sign. This was from the fall season, but Dollar Tree sells these types of signs for like kitchen decor, laundry decor. So you can always find signs like this. I always do at literally almost every Dollar Tree I go to around me. So I did take the pink tails off of these bunnies because that just does not fit with my aesthetic. I'm trying to do this more of a modern farmhouse style. I don't know if you guys are picking up on that, but I decided to cover up the little tiny pink tails with tiny little cotton ball bunny tails for this. So I think, you know what, they're a little bit bigger than the ones that they came with, but I mean, maybe just some bunnies have bigger tails than others. I don't know. Maybe that's just the way it is. So this is just really easy to secure. Hot glue is actually enough to hold this in place. And since I'm not selling this or anything, I'm just kind of putting it in my house on a shelf. I'm not really worried about this needing to be super duper secure. But I mean, if you are looking for it to be a little bit more secure, maybe you could use some super glue. Or you could drill a hole and also just kind of tie a knot on each end and kind of attach it that way as well. So these are Dollar Tree adhesive stencils, and I'm trying to make this say Hoppy, just to play on words. And I don't know if anyone else has used these burlap bunnies yet in their DIYs. I haven't really been on social media lately, but I thought of this idea earlier and I wanted to kind of give it a try. I love how I'm using my silicone mat as my, I don't know what you call it, my palette, I guess, for my paint there. But I mean, the silicone mat is pretty great because I just kind of put paint on it all the time and you can just always clean it off. So yeah. But anyway, I'm using some White Waverly chalk paint to fill in those stencils. And then the other two letters that were in brown, I actually used antique wax on those two letters, the O and the P. And then I just went ahead and tied this tiny little buffalo check ribbon to the neck of 3 of the bunnies. And I didn't do that on all of them because I just felt like it was too much, and just, I don't know, too much buffalo check, whatever you want to call it, or just gingham. I know people like to call it different things. So once I have them all like this, then I just kind of flipped it up and I was like, oh, you know what, I'm just going to distress underneath. But I kind of messed up with this because really I should have painted this box first, and then adding the bunnies to each corner with the hot glue should have been almost the very last step. Well, yeah, basically the very last step of this craft. So do as I say, not as I do, and add the string bunnies as the very last step, and do all of this to the box first, and tie the strings to the neck of the bunnies first, and then when you're done, then you can add the bunnies to this box as a finishing layer. But another great use for this antique wax is to distress this box, and then it comes out looking like this. And I think this is so cute. I know the white letters are a little bit hard to see, but I mean, I think it just kind of matched well against the darker burlap, really. So this is my last craft of today, and this was kind of a chill video, you guys, because I'm just kind of now getting back into the swing of things. So thank you so much for your patience with me as I've been trying to get back into the swing of things here. But I am just taking more of that wax. I used a lot of antique wax today, but I just used another makeup wipe and just tried to get in between the edges of this carrot sign. This is another Dollar Tree wood cutout. So I'm working with a lot of Dollar Tree signs today, but I have so many Dollar Tree signs, I need to use them. So as you can tell, it's hard to get in the corners of each part of the carrot top here, so that is where you're going to want to use a very small brush, and then you can just put your stain on it, and it really doesn't make a difference. It's just better that you can use a tiny brush to kind of get in between there, because otherwise you get some of the raw wood sticking out and it looks awkward. So this is the Waverly Moss color that I'm using for the carrot top. I just love the kind of muted green, and I have to say this actually kind of looks similar to the color of my car, if I'm being honest. I finally got a new car recently. I got a Toyota RAV4, and in this color, but not this color. That's way too dark, but kind of a lighter version of that. And I don't even know how I started talking about this. I'm rambling today. But anyway, this is a folk art orange. I don't think it's called anything specific. I think it's just orange, but it's actually acrylic folk art. Oh my gosh, not chalk paint. It's acrylic folk art paint. So I ended up doing 2 coats of this on the carrot because, you know, I am using a foam brush, and the foam brush tends to kind of eat up a lot of the paint. So after I painted the whole thing, I was like, oh, this looks really light in some parts, or just kind of like a faded orange. So that just didn't look right. So to get it more of a dark orange, I just did 1 more coat. And then I couldn't reach this part with the foam brush, so that is where I went in and used another tiny brush to get this part right underneath the carrot top. But since the carrot top is kind of has a outline behind it of another wood piece, I was like, what can I do? Because I want to paint the top part of this green. But so I think the antique wax and the stain really just kind of gives it a nice contrast between the green there and the orange, and just adds another color to it. But I think it's going to go well with the rest of what I do with this carrot, because I'm going to distress it and draw in some lines. So I wanted to show you how I got the lines onto this carrot, and I used a fine tip brush, as you can tell, but I used a kind of a tilted, not tilted, but I don't know the right word, but a curved paintbrush, kind of, if you know what I mean. But anyway, it's great to use that kind of tiny little paintbrush for this. It just really felt like it was helping me get the lines a little bit straighter. Maybe it's just in my head, I don't know, but you know, the lines are not going to be perfect. You're really trying to make it look like a real carrot, and none of these lines are perfect. So I just kind of follow the same process all the way down. I use antique wax to draw all of these carrot lines. And then you're just following the same process. Kind of, I made some lines start from the right, I made some lines start from the left, and that is really how I got that effect going. And then some of them that looked a little bit too faded, I did go back and darken some of the lines. And then once all of the lines were done, I was like, let's make this another muddy carrot. I've done a lot of those this Easter season so far, but I don't know, I guess is my favorite. So this is another way to take the antique wax. I actually use a stencil brush for this process. I actually use some stencil brushes from different stencil packs that I have. So I kind of make this my antique wax stencil brush. But I just kind of gently brush over it, and it's really kind of just like dry brushing, but I really just go at the edges more and just kind of, I go in really from each side. And then if there's just too much blank space in between, then I'll just kind of brush over that as well, just to make sure I get the whole carrot covered. I don't know if you can hear my dog clickety clacking away over there. I'm just voice recording in my basement here. So this is a Dollar Tree ribbon. This is, I don't know, it's not farmhouse, but it's just more of like a gingham type of ribbon, but there's no edging on this, and I prefer that actually because it just makes tying ribbons just and bows just way more easier with this style of ribbon. So all I did was I literally just tied a bow around this. I just tied it into a bow, but obviously it wasn't just kind of sitting there perfectly, so I kind of had to mess around with it a bit. But really, to hold it in place, I ended up hot gluing down the middle of the bow. And then that is the finished product. And I have to say, I really love how this carrot turned out. So thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure to check out Favi's video as well, Arrows DIY. Thank you guys, and see you next week.